Oh, listen, Nick, welcome aboard. I got to meet Nick this morning and very happy to have him on the team. With that, we have a quorum and we're going to, I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge to the flag, if I could. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Very good. I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of September 2nd.
So moved, Commissioner Given.
Second it.
Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Financial report and payment of the bills. Do we have a motion to approve the financial report?
Also move.
Okay, Gene and Earl, any discussion on the financial report and payment of the bills? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, this is an exciting time for me. I get to administer the oath to our two newly elected town commissioners, Charles Givens and Earl Piner. I'm very proud to have you guys back. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On your election, and I'll do one of you at a time. And our most senior member, who is now, this will be going into his 26th year. Is that correct, Charles?
I think that's what people say. I don't know. I don't keep up with time, but yes.
Okay. I'm going to keep you seated as I swear the oath to you. And that way we won't videotape your belly buttons. So here we go. I'm going to hold up my right hand. I ask you to do the same. And when I ask you to state your name, you say your name and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Charles Givens,
Do swear that I will support
do swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland
and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and the laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality and prejudice,
execute the office of Commissioner
execute the office of Commissioner
according to the Constitution of the laws of this state.
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
Congratulations, Charlie.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Charlie. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Piner.
How you doing?
I'm trying to think how many years it is for Earl. I think he was elected in 2 or 4, 2002 or 2004?
4.
16, gone 20.
16. So you'll finish out your term with 20. Okay, very good. Repeat after me, Earl. I state your name.
I, Earl Piner,
Do swear that I will support
do swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and that I will
and I will
be faithful and bear true allegiance,
be faithful and bear fair. I'll say it again.
true allegiance
Faithful and true allegiance to
to the state of Maryland
the state of Maryland
and support the Constitution
and support the Constitution
and laws thereof,
and laws thereof.
and that I will,
And I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
that's my skill and not judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of Commissioner
execute the office of Commissioner
according to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and laws of this state.
and laws of this state.
Thank you, Earl Piner.
Congratulations, Earl Piner.
All right.
All right.
Good
Thank
job.
you, guys.
Thank you,
Listen,
Mike.
normally we do open up the floor for Charlie or Earl if you want to say anything about your election. This is the first virtual swearing in I think the town of Elkton has ever done. I know it is. And also, if you have anything you want to say, it's your floor, Charlie.
I just want to thank everybody. The voters spoke. I will continue to work as I have done before. And to our new person coming on board, we are Team Elkton. We do a great job. And to Ray Jackson, I guess you also realize, sir, that we are a great team here in the town of Elkton. And thanks for everybody who's on Zoom. Thanks.
Earl?
Yes, I'd just like to thank all the supporters, all the voters for coming out and supporting both myself and Mr. Givens. And I can't wait to get back with you guys and enjoy the time we have together working as a team. And I can say if dealing with all these sports is this is one time I'm proud to be on a team that I consider as winners. And I do want to say I have met the new planner. He's a great guy. You can tell I don't sleep at all, sir. And I just want to let you know, the day I spoke to you, I told him I was a crazy commissioner, and I still am. I had no sleep yet, but he's going to understand that I am a player, a team player, and I enjoy meeting him, and I want to get back to work and get some things done. All right, that's me.
All right, thank you, Earl. Okay, it is 12:09 in the town of Elkton. We have a public hearing. Gene and Lewis, are you guys going to tell us what the public hearing's about?
I think Gene's on board with this one.
Okay, Gene, you're on mute. There you go.
Ray, I'm not sure if someone from your team was going to do the presenting. I was going to read the recommendation by the Planning Commission.
Okay, I don't know if you could just read the recommendation, I think that would suffice if that's okay with you, please.
Okay. So the Elkton Planning Commission at the regular meeting on September 21st, 2020, heard the request of Morris and Ritchie Associates Incorporated, representing Southfields of Elkton Capital Development in care of Stonewall Capital, for a request to waive the requirement that 20% of proposed residential lots are recorded prior to permits issued for non-residential uses as provided for in the Elkton zoning ordinance, Article 11, Plan Development, Section 1.14C, point 1.14.c. The action concerns the Southfields Planned Unit Development zoned property located on the following parcels of land. Parcel 1, or Parcel I, lots 1, 2, and 3, identified as tax map 316. The new tax map number is 033C. Parcel 169, consisting of 54.953 acres, located on the west side of Maloney Road, owner Southside LLC. Tax map 320, new tax map number 033E, parcel 2371, consisting of 244.0779 acres, located on the north side of Frenchtown Road, owner Southside LLC. Tax map 319, new tax map number 033D, parcel 2450, consisting of 101.6347 acres, owner Grays Hill Development Company. Tax map 320, 033E, parcel 2390, consisting of 46.5725 acres, owner Southside LLC. Tax map 320, 033E, parcel 2369, consisting of 59.67 acres, owner Southside LLC. Tax map 323, 033G, a portion of parcel 79, located outside the Chesapeake Bay critical area, owner Southside LLC. Tax map 324, 033H, and parcel 2394, consisting of 39.01 acres, owner Southside LLC. The Elkton Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the requested amendment to the previously approved planned unit development overlay zone for the tracts of land and portions thereof as described above.
Hey, Gene,
Yes.
I think if you want to inform the commissioners, I think this amendment was so they could begin the parcel I before they built the minimum number of units. Is that correct?
Yes, the way the ordinance was written, when you apply for a planned unit development, usually it's required that at the time of application, if you can't meet the if you need to request a waiver from the requirement that 20% of the residential lots are recorded prior to permits being issued for non-residential uses, you have to request it at the time of the application. And the applicant didn't do that at the time, so they're amending their application to do that now.
Okay, I understand. That way they don't need to have the 20% done prior to commercial construction.
Correct.
Okay, I think that's critically what Mr. Jackson's looking for, the ability to move forward with that commercial project.
Yes.
The question I have, are we taking action on this?
Yes.
And we're currently having a public hearing right now in regards to this.
Yes.
Does anyone on the board have any questions or comments in regards to the unanimous approval from the planning board in regards to allowing the request to waive the requirement of the 20% proposed residential?
I only have one question. I'm just curious, when was the initial application done?
I believe it was January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brady, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions from the board? Okay, this is a public hearing. And if anyone has a question or comment, I'll kind of go around looking at the, I wish I could say wave your hand, but I'm going to look here. I see Mr. Steve Moore. I think you had just unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I think the host unmuted me. I'm just here listening. No comment.
Okay, very good. Mr. William Carroll?
No comment.
There's Miss Anna. Any comment? We have a phone number 415-1814. One. Okay, seeing that, and I know this is strange times, but seeing that we have no one wants to have any discussion with the public hearing in regards to the amendment, it is now.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I have a couple of more numbers here. You might not have been able to see them on your screen, and I'm asking them to unmute themselves right now.
Okay.
Can you go to your screen? Do you have a, do you see like 1 of 2 and then 2 of 2?
Okay, let me go to 2 of 2. Okay, I have a phone number 415. I have a Mr. Alan Kaysen. Do you have any comment?
He's an attorney.
No comments. I'm just observing the proceedings and assisting Mr. Jackson and Ms. Mim on the transaction for a later time. So
Thank you. We have a phone number 3.
No comment.
We have a phone number 44367. We have a phone 5702.
Good afternoon. This is Keenan Rice, and I'm just here to help answer questions on the special taxing district if any come up, but I have no comments. But thank you for asking.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone that I didn't address that has any comment in regards to in regards to the amendment? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, this public hearing is closed in regards to the amendment to Southfield's planned unit development. Okay, now, Lou, you're saying we need to take action, or Gene, we need to vote?
Yes, I think you need to vote for that. to approve.
Okay, very good. Do we have a motion to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation to move with the amendment for the planned unit development, relaxing the requirement of 20% proposed residential lots?
I will so move.
We have a motion.
Commissioner Given, second.
We have a second. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Okay, the next item, we have a second public hearing, and it is now 12:18. We're going to have a public hearing in regards to Resolution R8 2020 for the purpose of establishing a special taxing district encompassing certain parcels of land located within the town of Elkton to be known as the Southfield Special Taxing District. Who's going to report on that? Is that,
Mayor, I'll start out. Basically, this resolution allows if enacted by the board, will allow that the special taxing district apply to all the parcels in Southfields except those that have been excluded. And special tax would apply to all residential and commercial development. And also a special fund would be established in order for that money to be collected over time and to repay debt service on the bonds, that are special obligation bonds that would be issued for that project. I think Mr. Jackson can give you a more succinct description of what they want to do here.
we're going to.
Good afternoon. Basically, what we're working to facilitate is the private financing for the infrastructure being the proposed water tower, the to-be designed water tower, sewer pump stations, public roads, including the main boulevard, traffic signal on 213 in the main boulevard, as well as some traffic improvements to 213 and Route 40 and off-site improvements, including improvements to Route 213. That's the basic infrastructure that's being financed. And what we're requesting is, in lieu of any public financing, which we have not asked for or requested, we're proposing a special tax district, and that would allow us to assess a special tax through the sale of bonds collected similar to a property tax, and it would finance upfront the installation of all of that infrastructure. I will defer to Keenan Rice, who is the team leader from UNICAP, or Alan Kaysen, one of our attorneys, or Kimberly Min, the attorney for the town, for further clarification. But it basically allows us to upfront fund all of the infrastructure improvements. It allows the town to function as the trustee of those funds and allow the payment of those funds to occur with the approval of the town. So the benefit to the town is that they are assured that the infrastructure is done and completed properly. The benefit to me as the developer is that the funding occurs up front. So I too get comfort that the work is being done properly. And overall, for the net benefit of the community, in that all of the infrastructure is done in the beginning and it's not piecemeal. So that's the brief description of the purpose of the special tax district.
I want to comment that under the special obligation bonds that are issued by the town, that'll be under an authorization under R9. Only public improvements can be financed that way. So they're not financing the commercial development in a sense for private ownership, but for the public improvements that will be commonly used by the people that live there or visit there or service there. So that's what I want to make sure you understand, that it's only used for public improvements.
The one question that has continued to come up from residents of the town is that, of course, a project the size of Southfields, the concern is the impact, and I'm going to say the financial impact or the taxes. People are concerned about a tax increase because of the amount of infrastructure that's going to be required in a Southfields project. I have addressed it multiple times on social media, but I think it would be important for it to come from your point of view, and I could probably either say it could come from Ray Jackson or even Kimberly. Maybe you could tell us currently right now what is your understanding? All the infrastructure would be handled by this special assessment, and it wouldn't be any additional money needed from any of the rest of the town residents. And
I can address that, and then I would defer to Kimberly, but I would say that that the infrastructure that we're speaking about, again, as Lewis pointed out, rightfully so, is public infrastructure. That also includes upgrades to some of the existing force mains that are off-site that need to be upgraded. But no, we're not requesting any public assistance here. We're not asking for any funding to come from the town of Elkton. And my response to that question, Mr. Mayor, would be that the ongoing residual revenue that's generated by Southfields would actually add to the revenues for the town of Elkton, and consequently the water and sewer revenues specifically, as there will be hundreds of new residents brought online, as well as commercial and retail development that also pays into the water and sewer monthly funding. So that I would envision that the revenues that are generated by Southfields would actually add to the coffers of the town, as opposed to detract from them, in the sense that we're going to be utilizing the town's existing infrastructure. I don't think that you're looking to increase the capacity of your water system due to the new residents coming online with Southfields. And if you are, then that would be the water tower, for instance, and we would be financing that. The same, I think, can be held true for the wastewater treatment plant. You have existing capacity to facilitate the residents that we're proposing, and the commercial and retail that we're proposing. So it's actually economically benefiting to the town. There's an economic benefit to the town in that there'll be reoccurring residual revenue. So I will also say that there are some off-premise improvements. There's a failing intersection at Route 213 and Route 40. And we are required through state highway and through our traffic plan to upgrade that. I believe there's also an improvement slated for Whitehall Road. So those improvements will also be financed through this special tax district and will be paid for by Southfields. So we are not proposing in any of our development and or any of the long-term plan for any public funding coming from the town of Elkton.
very good. And so anyone that listens to this Zoom meeting at a later date, currently the Southfields project, or the lands that was addressed by Gene, there is currently no infrastructure, and there's currently no one living. There's no commercial buildings. It's just vacant raw land. And if this was enacted, it's not affecting anyone except the property owners at this point. Is that correct? A safe statement to say? Oh, I'm muted out.
You are?
Maybe I'm not.
No, you're not.
Who's the
I just-
question for?
Does that question make any sense?
Who was your question for?
Yeah.
Well, it could be for anyone. It could be for Ray or Kimberly, or even Lewis can confirm it. But the comment where I'm getting at, I just want to make everyone that listens to this in the future, this special taxing district, there's no one in it at this point other than the vacant land, and it's owned by the landowners. Is that a correct statement?
Mr. Mayor, this is Kimberly Min. That is a correct statement. Currently, the petitioner that the petition that's been submitted to the town and is in front of them is made by Ray Jackson and the entities that he controls, which are the beneficial owners of all of the property that's intended to be subjected to the special taxing district. And there are no other owners that are asked to be submitted to the special taxing district. And so the owners of and the future owners of the property that's located within that district are going to be the sole persons responsible for the repayment of, you know, any financing that's incurred for those public improvements.
Thank you, Kimberly.
I just wanted to clarify too, the parcels that I read out did not include the critical area portion, which I believe is included in the special taxing district of the lands that are proposed for future development. They're not part of this, the PUD, but they're proposed for future development. And there's also some tracts of land on the parcels I did read out that are not subject to the special taxing district. If it might be helpful if you could screen share the map of the property.
Well, Jean, were the critical areas in the calculations that were given to us?
I didn't see the calculations. I just saw the map.
Well, then I guess that's a question for Ms. Min then, I guess.
So this is Kimberly Min, counsel to the town. I'll let Keenan Rice probably go into the more specific details, but the way that the legislation has been crafted as it associates to what properties get assessed the special tax and which do not is only developed property, and there's a specific definition as to what constitutes developed property. So for example, as Commissioner Minner correctly noted, while the critical areas are included in the boundary of the district, they would not be assessed unless and until they would constitute what's called developed property, and then only to the extent that they're able to be developed. So if for example, that development portion was not approved, those critical areas would never constitute developed property under the legislation, and so they would not be taxed. Keenan, do you have anything to add to that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, please.
No, I was just wondering then, as of our last meeting, when we were given some figures to digest, was the critical area at that time part of that calculation?
Keenan, I don't know if you want to.
I don't know if there's a Unicap person online right now, but I don't believe when I discussed this with them yesterday, the critical area, the parcels A and B, were not included in the calculations for the special tax because it's not developable at this time. Is that correct, somebody?
Yeah, this is Keenan Rice of Unicap. So the critical areas are in the special tax district. However, they're exempt from special taxes as long as they're in the critical area. However, if they come out of the critical area and there is a land use approval that's received, I can look up the precise name for that, that allows that property to be developed, it does benefit from the improvement. So at that point in time, there would be a special tax levied on that property. But if it never comes out of the critical area, or if it never gets approved for development, then it will always be exempt from special taxes.
Very good. Thank you.
Wait a minute. I want to make sure that Commissioner Brumel understands that because it's exempt at this point in time, and it'll be exempt until there's growth allocation allowing it to be developed, that property was never included in the calculations of the special tax that's applied both to the assigned special tax or the maximum special tax. Is that correct?
Well, just to be clear, it's not included in the calculation of the taxes that will be used to repay the bonds that are proposed to be issued at this point in time. But it is in the overall, special taxes that are being authorized, because if the property ever comes out of the critical area and is approved for development, then special taxes would be levied on it. And the documents that relate to the special tax district do, provide that information and provide for that, because that's important, because it does benefit from those improvements. But it's not part of the special taxes that we're looking at or relying upon to repay the bonds that are proposed to be issued for these improvements here in the near future.
Also, I want to comment that because this may take several years for those parcels to be developed, if they can be developed, the initial bond, the special obligation bond issuance will not include those parcels. Is that correct? It will be a subsequent bond issuance for that if it's ever developable.
Right.
Oh, okay. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else from the board have any questions or comments? Do you feel, I don't want to take any action on this today after this public hearing, but I want us to feel comfortable about this, because this is something that's totally different, something we've never done before, and I want us to digest this better.
Yeah, I of course have a question before we go.
Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, thank you, because you gave us a good scenario, an understanding of the infrastructure that it's going to affect. I certainly understand how it's going to affect the property owners, and I guess I just want to know the other side of the coin. Tell me what occurs without the special taxing district.
Okay, that's a great question. So basically what we do is master developers is we have strategic partners, and in this case, the strategic partners on the residential side are D.R. Horton, home builder, and then Burkentine Builders, who's the multifamily residential builder. And what we would do is we would put an allocation for infrastructure to each one of those lot costs. Okay, so for the home builder, if you sell a lot, an undeveloped lot, let's just say the cost of that is X. What I would do is I would say, okay, D.R. Horton, your cost for this lot is X plus whatever that amount is, a proportional amount for the cost of the infrastructure. Spread between the total number of residential units, as well as an allocation for retail and commercial. So to make it a more simplistic example, I'll use some numbers. Let's just say a lot costs $10 hypothetically. And the water and the sewer and the roads cost $10 as well, but there's 10 lots, so it would actually equate to $1 per lot. The cost of that lot to the home builder then would be $11. So the difference is that in a special tax district, it allows me to collect all that money up front, and it allows me to finance all the infrastructure costs up front so that I can put all of the infrastructure in at the same time, as opposed to piecemealing it. Typically what you see happen in jobs of this nature is you would see the road go in, the boulevard in our case, would go in and it would stop at a certain section. And then you'd start developing the first phase of that. So D.R. Horton might start building the first 50 lots, and Burkentine Builders might build the first apartment building. And the developer would only put in the infrastructure to supply those first 50 lots and to supply that first apartment building. But in this case, we build the entire boulevard, and we build the water tower, and we do the upgrades to the sewer lines that are needed now. and we build the sewer pump stations now. So all of that infrastructure is done up front. That's kind of what the difference is. The cost, the actual cost to the end user, the end owner of the property, in this case, a home buyer, it's almost the same, whether it's a special tax district or it's additional cost in the price of the land, which means it's an additional cost of the end price of the home. Either way, the homeowner typically is going to finance that over 30 years, traditional financing. We're proposing a 30-year bond. So the financing of those 30-year bonds, I would defer to Kimberly and Keenan here, but I think is in the 5% range. So it's basically market. It's a good rate to finance. The timing of the financing is good. So that's spread out over the course of 30 years. Instead of charging the home builder, which eventually gets passed on to the home buyer, an upfront cost, it's financed over 30 years. So the cost of the infrastructure is typically passed on to the eventual owner of the property. And it's done through the home buyer and then through the home sale and the settlement of the property. In this case, that allocation or that proportional amount is taken out, and it's created a pool in the special tax district. That's kind of what the difference is.
Okay, very well. It's very good. I have one last question for you. I'm just trying to really, digest all this. In the memo that you sent us, though, you said it equates to about $8,000 per residential lot. Or I'm assuming that's what you said it was, right?
I believe I was hoping my verbiage was this is an example. So yeah, $8,000 is a good amount, I would say. Yes, that would be a close approximation. I would defer to Keenan here, but yes.
Okay, that's all right. I mean, I understand you can't narrow it down to a few dollars. I appreciate a ballpark figure for certain. I'm having a hard time, though, understanding why there's such a discrepancy, but why is it so different from what the homeowner's going to repay over 30 years if they're looking at $20,000?
Well, the option is, and Keenan, correct me if I'm wrong, but the option is that the homeowner's going to finance it one way or another. Would you agree with that? Whether it's in the special tax district to an overlay on the tax, or it gets included in their monthly mortgage payment. And
you're asking me?
No, yes. No, I'm not asking you. No, I apologize. I said Keenan.
Yeah. So Ray, I can speak to this. It's a simple answer. The difference is interest. If you pay something over time, you're going to pay interest on it as you pay over time. And it's the same as a mortgage. If you take out a $100,000 mortgage and then you look at your payments over the term of the mortgage, you probably pay back $200,000. And I do want to point out a couple of things. Every property owner has the right under the special taxes that are levied here to just pay off their share of the costs up front or any time for that matter. They don't have to pay over time. Paying over time is really an option for the owner. There's some of the property, one of the owners, the party that's going to buy and develop the multifamily just wants to pay up front. That buyer doesn't want to pay over the time. Every property owner in the district has that same option. They can pay up front or they can pay over time. If they pay over time, then it's probably going to go in their mortgage. By using the special tax district to pay for these costs that the builders, the different developers here would otherwise have to pay that money, and of course they're going to pass that through to their buyers, and so it would, and most of that cost would then go into the buyers' mortgages, and so they would end up paying in their mortgages. And it's pretty much a wash whether someone pays it, you know, as a special tax or they pay it as a mortgage. It's just they have the option. They can pay it either way. For some of the users, like the sports park, it is extremely valuable to be able to pay this over time as opposed to being paid up front. And from Ray's perspective, it's very helpful because this provides financing for multiple different properties that are all going to have, you know, different developers, and they're going to have different lenders, and they're going to go for it at different times. It's very hard to put together the money to pay for these improvements all up front when you have these different entities coming in with different time frames and different loans, but yet they're having to share in the same improvements. So the special taxing district is actually a great tool, and in fact, this is a traditional use of a special taxing district, is when you have these multiple properties that need to share in the cost of one improvement. A special taxing district is a great way for different properties to share in the cost of one improvement, and that's really the primary function that's being used here is to allow all these different properties with different lenders and different time frames that need to share in the cost of the same improvements to do so. And it's their option. If they just want to pay their share of the cost and they don't want to take advantage of the bonds, it's their option. They have the right to do that. If they want to take advantage of the financing and pay for it over time, they can do that as well. Our experience is most buyers will take advantage of paying it over time. You know, they find it to be an advantage. You know, for example, there's no private mortgage insurance on the bonds. You know, there's, you know, other escrows and down payments and things like that don't apply to the bonds. And we expect, and it's been our experience, most owners will pay for it over time. But every owner has the option to say, you know what, I don't want to pay for this in the bonds over time. I'll just pay for my share up front. And they can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Gene, any other questions? Not at this point?
Not at this point, thank you.
Okay.
I had one.
Go ahead, Rob.
Backing up just a bit, Mr. Jackson commented that there were some improvements to be done at the intersections of Route 40 and Whitehall Road and Route 40 and 213. Can you elaborate on those improvements? What is going to be done there? And approximately how long will that take?
So I can speak specifically about the improvement to 213 and Route 40. There's an issue right now with the signal. The timing of the signal that will need to get reprogrammed. There's also an issue on 213 heading into the town of Elkton, going across Route 40. They want to change the pattern there. I believe they're adding an additional turn lane. So we are going to be incurring the cost of those improvements. It'll be both physical. So there'll be some road construction there as well as electronic and signal. That's all coordinated with State Highway, and it's actually done as the project comes on board. But in this case, what we would do is we would go back to SHA, State Highway, and we would say, we want to perform these improvements now. Again, another benefit of the special tax district, because those costs are funded up front, so we don't have to wait for phasing of the project. We would go back to State Highway and say, we have the funding to do this now at the beginning of the project, so we would like to engage and complete that process now. I can't, Commissioner, I cannot speak about the improvement on Whitehall Road. It might be Whitehall and 213, and I apologize to you. I just don't have the traffic report in front of me, but I will tell you that all off-premise improvements have to be made in conjunction with the traffic study and with the terms and conditions of the approval from both the town, the county, and State Highway.
Mr. Jackson, could I ask a question?
Sure.
The improvements that State Highway Administration had proposed for that intersection was the creation of a Michigan left or a Michigan U, I think they call it. Is that the improvement that you're talking about, or is it something different?
It's a portion of that, yes, yes. You know the specifics of the proposed improvement better than I do. And thank you for chiming in there. But yes, that is what I'm speaking to.
I'd like to make a comment that working with the state highway is not a quick process. So I'm sure that if anybody here has ever developed a project, including the state highway, it takes quite a bit of time to do it. So I'd be surprised if any improvements could be done on Route 40 before you build quite a few houses in your commercial development.
Well, I would say that we've been working with State Highway for a year. I will say that I believe that State Highway is close to finishing the final report for the industrial section, which includes a traffic signal on Route 40. And I will tell you that as we go through the process of approval for everything on the west side of 213, that and Gene will attest to this. We're 6 to 9 months to a year before we start physically building any residential units there. I think that that's a realistic guesstimate at this point. So we have been working with them already for about a year, and I would envision that the state highway improvements will be detailed and will have begun before vertical construction starts there. We're still in the permitting and planning and approval process for everything on the west side of 213. So we still have a number of months in that process, and Jean and her team have been wonderful, but it's a elongated process, and we're probably, realistically 6 months to 9 months away from starting physical work there.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, this is a public hearing, and I'd like to, I guess I'll go around the horn again the best I can with the phone numbers, or maybe the best thing to say, maybe at this point, if you have something to say, jump in right now and tell me you have something to say, and I'll either tell you to move forward or I'll put you in the queue.
Mayor, could I don't mean to jump in the middle of this, but
yes,
keep in mind that the public hearing includes 2 resolutions, and the first resolution for the special taxing district, among other things, has been discussed at this point, but not resolution R9. R9 is the resolution authorizing the issuance of special obligation bonds and all the related matters to that. So that has to be included under the public hearing. So I agree that if there's any comments about R8, the initial one about the special taxing district, you could take questions and answers regarding that. And then, but afterwards, we have to do R9, the bond authorization resolution.
Thank you, Lou. Do we have any questions from the public in regards to resolution R8 2020 about establishing the special taxing district? Just chime in if you do. Okay, very good. I didn't hear any. So now we're going to go and move forward with resolution R9 2020, the purpose of authorizing the issuance of special obligation bonds by the town of Elkton for the purpose of funding the public improvements of the developments of the Southfields special taxing district. Who wants to bring, Lou, can you give us a highlight of this?
I'll start it out. Of course, Kimberly, I want to rely on Kimberly to throw in some detail here. But essentially, R9, the resolution authorizing the bonds, the special obligation bonds, is the part that actually generates the funds to support the developers' construction of the public improvements. Those bonds, when they're sold, create proceeds that are put into a special fund, and then the that fund will subsidize development over the period of time in which there's construction of public improvements occurs. I believe that Kimberly can add a little bit to this. Do you mind, Kimberly?
Sorry, I just had to get myself off of mute.
Okay.
No, so you know, under the town's charter, you actually have the authority by resolution to issue bonds generally, and then in addition, under state law, a municipality has the authorization to issue what are called special obligation bonds, which are bonds that are issued and supported, the repayment of which are supported solely with the revenues from the assessments from the special taxing district. So mechanically, the resolution provides for a not to exceed amount. That's the total amount that is authorized. You know, MuniCap in connection with the developer and reporting to the town will let us know how much exactly they intend to borrow, and it's related to the cost of the public improvements that are being performed. Then what will happen is, you know, as assessments and special taxes are collected, they will be deposited in a special fund and be able to use exclusively for the annual, monthly, and interest payments that repay the bond. So the way that, you know, this works, which is very similar to, you know, other types of revenue obligations, the town is not offering its full faith and credit for the repayment of these bonds. The town is, you know, not obligated to come up with money in any other spot to repay these bonds in the event that there are not sufficient revenues to repay the debt service, you know, over the period of time. The maximum term of these bonds is 30 years. There will be an interest rate that gets assigned to those. That's a marketing process that is done in collaboration with MuniCap, and the underwriter is Steeple. They have actually a long history in these types of transactions, so they know the market very well, and will, are certainly after getting the best deal possible for the developer and thus the district. So what will happen is, you know, when and if the bond resolution is approved, it will be vesting with the mayor the authority to finalize the documentation associated with the bond, enter into what's called a development agreement, where the developer agrees to complete the improvements. And, you know, in the event that there's not enough money that from the bond issue to complete the improvements, the developer is liable and obligated to complete those improvements anyway. And then, you know, this bond issue is going to be, as I understand it, privately marketed, which means that, you know, certain investors, certain like large qualified investors will be purchasing these, and they aren't necessarily going to be publicly marketed. The town, in conjunction with the developer, will, you know, be providing annual information as it relates to the funds on deposit and the repayment of the bonds. MuniCap, who's going to be who's anticipated to be appointed as administrator, will be performing those functions, you know, and sort of checking in with your town administrator, with Lewis, you know, to just let them know what information is being shared. But it's not intended to be an administrative burden to the town as it is. However, if there are any costs that are incurred by the town, those costs are going to be funded additionally from the revenues of the special taxes, and those are generally budgeted for. And so at the time of that you issue these obligations, they are going to say the town of Elkton, they are going to say special obligations, and it will be in capital letters, probably 3 times over in each document that will be signed by the town, that that the repayment of these obligations are limited solely to the assessments that are collected within the district. And then, you know, another component of the resolution is that you will be approving the public improvements that are intended to be included within the district. And those are generally described in the resolution, and they'll be also described and provided for in connection with the development agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions if there is anything related to what I described here that on which you would like more detail.
Kimberly, the amount of money that the bonds, the principal amount for the bonds, that'll be developed after the engineer's report submitted and they know all the costs. Is that correct? So they don't
Correct.
know that at this point, I don't think.
That is correct. This is a not to exceed number. If for whatever reason the amount were to increase above this not to exceed number, then additional town approvals would be required. But as we have been advised by the developer and by MuniCap, this is a safe number, and the bonds are going to be issued at or below that amount.
Yeah, the amount that's indicated, the not to exceed amount under this is 15 million, and I think the ballpark figure for the improvements right now, prior to the engineer, confirming, is in the 12 million range. So it's below that maximum amount.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there could be some additional, and I'm sorry, this is Keenan Rice of MuniCap. When the property in the critical area, if it comes out of the critical area and is approved for development, there is a road that's going to be that will need to be extended down to the waterfront area. For example, if it's the marina or whatever development, and there will be additional special taxes at that point in time, because if that property comes out of the critical area and gets developed, it will be subject to special taxes, and there will be some additional improvements. Now that would require coming back to the town council, but we wanted to get the special taxing district set up for it, because it's a lot easier to get it set up now, as opposed to trying to do that later. But just as far as explaining the difference between the 15 million and the 12 million, it's typical that a bond authorization is going to be higher than the amount of bonds that you expect to issue in any case. But there's also the fact that there's that other property that could get developed in the future, and if it does, there will be a need to extend the road down there.
Very good, thank you. Anyone from the board have any questions or comments in regards to R9 2020? Okay, we're going to try this again. I'm going to open up the floor to anyone else that might be on the line that has any questions in regards to Resolution R9 2020, which is the purpose of authorizing the issuance of these bonds.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I may, this is Alan Kaysen. I'm a partner with the law firm of McGuire Woods, and we're working with Ray and Kimberly on this transaction. We do these transactions throughout the state of Maryland and outside of the state as well. So I wanted the mayor and the commissioners to know that while this is the first time through for Elkton, this is a fairly well-established financing mechanism in Maryland, as many jurisdictions have assisted with economic development through this particular tool. I mean, I thought Ray earlier and Kimberly did an excellent job of summarizing the deal. There are just two things that I wanted to mention, just for the public hearing record. As far as what this deal is not, we've heard a lot about what it is. What it does not do is impact in any way the traditional real property taxes that are collected by the county and the town. This is a special tax. I like to refer to it, I think as Ray did, as a private tax. And it is quite simply a financing mechanism. The town's involvement is critical, is very helpful, and it also allows the debt to be issued on a tax-exempt basis, which lowers the borrowing cost. that could not occur if it was financed through a bank or some other private entity. So that's very important to Ray, and also ultimately reduces the cost to the owners in the district. It's I think Lewis referred to this as a brain surgery at one point along the way, but it is a complicated deal because we are going out into the marketplace. But, when you boil it down, it's actually fairly simple after you get the mechanics in place. And from the town's point of view, really the only obligation, as Kimberly described, is a limited obligation. The only obligation is to basically take the special taxes that are received and deliver them to the trustee under the bond documents. And we know under the state law, the only thing that those taxes can be used for is to pay debt service. So, and there will be no other obligation of the town to supplement the improvements in any way, which is a question that comes up quite a bit, to the extent that there are cost overruns or other costs related to the financing or the activity. That will fall on Mr. Jackson. There's no agreement or concept of the town supplementing those costs in any way, which is why we like to refer to it as a limited obligation. So I just wanted to add that for the record, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kaysen. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Well, I do, Rob.
All right, lay it on us.
One last question, I promise. We had talked about these other municipalities where this is working, and that sounds good. I just am still waiting to find out who they are. And
oh, you stole my question.
I did.
We have provided an example, a list. I apologize if that hasn't been circulated. Maybe we haven't, maybe somewhere that fell. The loop wasn't complete, but we provided some examples of some other special taxing districts in Anne Arundel County, Frederick County, the town of Brunswick, and I'll make sure that gets to you, and I apologize that it hasn't gotten to you.
Thank you very much.
Great question. Yes, I was going to ask that question so that we may be more informed when we are approached with similar questions from the townspeople.
Sure.
Actually, I actually just received an email from Unicap with that list. I can send it right now to Gene, and I'm sure Lewis was on the email, but I can forward it to everyone. Lewis was on the email. Actually, you're all on the email, so it's coming over to you now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So this is Kimberly. Oh, I'm sorry, Lewis, go ahead.
No, the only thing I wanted to comment that Mr. Kaysen emphasized, and I think it's most important for the general public to realize, or the property owners in the town, that their real property tax, will not be affected by the South Fields project. And I think he wanted to emphasize that because a lot of people feel that there's going to be some impact on them based on a development of this magnitude. And I think the issuance of special obligation bonds to pay for all the infrastructure up front is a good idea rather than piecemeal. I agree with that because I've been through that a lot. And I think that the emphasis is that the average taxpayer who does not live in the special taxing district will not be adversely affected by the development of this project.
Thank you, Lou. Okay, last opportunity for questions. It is now 1:07. This public hearing is closed. Thank you.
I want to comment at this point that I emphasized myself that the board will not act on these resolutions at this point in time. I want everybody to let this information simmer in the pot, so to speak, and then we'll discuss it at the 14th workshop and subsequent to that if necessary. But I want the board to feel totally comfortable. And a lot of times when you get done a public meeting like this, you'll think of something afterwards, like, oh, gee, I wish I asked that question. Well, we're going to have that opportunity in the future. So nobody's going to leave this meeting today, this public hearing, and not have an opportunity to do something or to think about it or to ask questions or share concerns before any action is ever taken on these resolutions.
Thank you, Lou. That's really appreciate that. Okay, you guys can stay on the meeting if you'd like, but you can also hang up and leave if you'd like.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, guys.
Everything.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think the next thing
Thank
is Jean has the Elkton Council Hall. Jean?
Yes. So if you recall, in the summertime, the town had sent out a request for proposals for licensed architectural engineering firms to complete an adaptive reuse feasibility study for the former Elkton Council Hall building located at 110-112 North Street. And we were looking for design options that are innovative and would protect and showcase the construction of the building and to add economic value to the downtown and provide a revenue source for Elkton's Main Street organization, the Elkton Alliance. We received a grant for $16,000 from Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development under their technical assistance grant. And so we had sent out the request for proposals. We received 8 proposals. And I can tell you that all the firms that responded were very competent firms. They were good. It was a difficult decision. But my recommendation is that we engage the services of Buchart Horn to perform the feasibility study. Buchart Horn has been in business for 75 years. They've got 200 employees. They specialize in adaptive reuse and will do all the work in-house without using subcontractors. They have a repeat client rate of 90%. They're going to provide 3 primary design concepts for us. And once we select the design concept that we like the best, they'll refine it for final presentation. What helped them stand out from some of the other firms was they're also going to recommend uses that where we could request grant money to help us bring it to fruition. They wanted to balance certainty and risk in the use of the building and identify a potential lease of the second floor to minimize vacancy and revenue loss. Their proposal was in the amount of $15,000.
Gene, I'd like to comment too that I looked at the background of jobs they had done before, and one of them included the National Guard Armory in Chestertown. So I kind of was interested in that because if we need to do some work over here, albeit approved by the Maryland Historical Trust, then we might go to that firm for some consultation or something, because they have experience dealing with the state, with the Maryland Historic Trust and all that. So that's a plus for us.
And I can tell you that all the firms were excellent. They all had, it was a very difficult decision. But what Buchart Horn, I requested specifically information in Maryland, work they did in Maryland for feasibility studies. And they listed Queen Anne's County Courthouse, the 5th Regiment Armory feasibility study and renovation, historic Fort Garrison exterior renovation, Baltimore County Perry Hall Mansion renovation, Booker T. Washington Middle School feasibility study for restoration and brownstone facade, the City of Westminster Fenby Farms historic master site plan, and Chestertown Armory renovations and additions, which they worked closely with Maryland Historic Trust on.
Very good. We opened up the bids a meeting or 2 ago, and Jean has done a wonderful job of digesting that. Do we have a motion to approve Jean's recommendation with Ducart and Horn?
Commissioner Givens, I so move.
Minor second.
Minor was the second. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
I know it was a difficult one.
It was hard. Yeah.
Okay, Lou, you're up.
The first item I have is the American Red Cross lease. Their lease is running out and they want to extend the lease for 3 years. I talked to Dan about this, and Dan says they're essentially using 207 Blue Ball Avenue for storage of equipment and material, rather than, I don't think they do classes there or anything. I don't know if it's related to COVID or not, but that's all they're doing. Professionally rather than personally, I recommend that we extend the lease for an annual period rather than 3-year period. I don't like to get locked in for 3 years on anything like that if we can avoid it, and we can automatically renew it without. One way to deal with this is I put language in there that allows that to automatically renew on an annual basis unless they're given 60 days notice. And that way it doesn't have to come back to the board each time, but if we decide to use it, we can exercise that option of giving notice and then curtail that lease. I need the board to agree to that, though.
Do we have a motion to accept a annual extension of the lease for the premises at 207 Blue Ball Avenue for the American Red Cross?
So moved, Commissioner Mastriano.
Mastriano and Commissioner Brummel, any discussion?
Yeah, that was, Louis, a very good way to give them a lease, even though they're seeking 3 years, but it gives us the option to make changes. Very good.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you. The next thing I'm really excited about, the Elkton Armory. I need the board's approval to execute, allow the mayor to execute an agreement of sale and the Maryland Historic Trust easement on that armory. So after all these months, we can see light at the end of the tunnel in acquiring that property. And I talked to James Moran this morning, and I asked him, I said, once we own this property, can you tell me how to turn the heater on? That sounds funny, but if you saw the heater in this building, the first thing would come to your mind is, what a monstrosity. And it is. So anyway, he said he'd do that for a modest consultation fee, which I think we could afford. I think he'll do it pro bono, I think. But
Coffee?
I kind of need the board to agree to this so I can get this thing moving, so we can get the settlement on it.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the mayor to move forward with the agreement of sale and also the Maryland Historic Trust easement?
Commissioner Gibbons, that's so move. A second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got Givens and Mastriano. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know if John's working with Perry Seaman on the closing settlement, whatever. And I don't know if he has any comments on that.
Well, it's been a struggle.
Wow, really?
It's been,
Is John there? I see him, but
Breaking up.
yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say it's been a struggle. Dealing with the state and historic trust people has been a challenge.
I lost him after a challenge, and I think that he's being very cautious in his words, but it has been a challenge. But we're getting close to, like I said, the light in the tunnel here. So I think we're fine.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you, guys. The next on the agenda.
Next on the agenda is our towing contract with Kraus Auto Body. I asked, we have, of course, we've had a contract with them and Purnell's for some time, and asked for comments from the police department regarding this because they're the ones that use it for tow services. And their comment was they have a good professional relationship with both Kraus and with, I call it Purnell's and McNeil Inc. Over the years, and they want to renew the contracts with both Purnell's and with McNeil. I'm sorry, Kraus Auto.
What is the term of the lease?
Five years.
It's hard to believe that it's already been 5 years. It seems like this comes up every year.
It's a 5-year lease, I believe. Yes.
Listen, I don't have any issue at all. I know over the last couple years, there was another towing company that has sent me an email and also has contacted me on social media asking to be involved in the towing contract. But I see no evidence that they actually live in town. But I do believe that my understanding is if they contact Kraus or they contact Purnell, they normally contact this third person for towing if need be, if they can't get a hold of the other two. So I think they kind of rotate around.
I think, if you don't mind my comment, a number of years ago, the board had made a decision to stick with Kraus and Purnell because they were businesses within the town of Elkton, part of the Elkton business community. And they wanted to support those particular businesses. And if another tow service came into the town, then they would obviously be included also. So, and they stagger back and forth. So Kraus gets a tow and then Purnell's gets a tow and it goes back and forth that way unless somebody specifically asks for, AAA or something. So I think it's been a very fair and equitable manner in which the town has dealt with both these in-town businesses.
Very good. Do we have a motion to approve the towing contracts for Kraus and also for Purnell for a 5-year term?
Also moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I agree with your previous dialogue that both of them have done greatly over the years. And Rob, I'm like you, it just seemed like yesterday that the contract came up again, but they have done a great job.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
The last two items I have are a stormwater management inspection and maintenance agreement with the Elkton Housing Authority. And this relates to the renovate, or actually they're going to demolish and rebuild a project up at Sheffield Park. I call it Sheffield Park. I think they call it Rudy Park now. And I'm from the old school. But this agreement allows us to ensure that there are best management practices with respect to regulating stormwater on that property. And it's a standard thing that we do. So I would recommend that the board agree to a stormwater management inspection maintenance report or agreement with Elkton Housing Authority for that project up there.
Do we have a motion to enter into a stormwater management agreement with the Elkton Housing Authority?
Also moved.
Got a motion?
Commissioner Gibbons, second.
And a second. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, the last but not least, I have a public works agreement with the Elkton Housing Authority, and this is for that same project. And the public works agreement only provides that we'll inspect and accept any public improvements on that property, which probably is not going to amount to any more than the streets, curb gutters, stormwater pond, if that's included, I believe it is, and water and sewer. So it's probably not going to be any momentous task to do that, but we need a public works agreement with them that allows us to accept those improvements once they're properly constructed. Nothing compared to Southfields, let me tell you, it's a minor project compared to that one. But I would ask that the board approve a public works agreement with the Elkton Housing Authority.
We have a motion to accept a public works agreement with the Elkton Housing Authority Willows at Rudy Park.
Yes.
Have a
So
motion?
moved.
We got a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Believe it or not, that's last of the business I have.
We had a packed agenda here today. I wanted to, I saw a note, Lou, It appears that our Delaware Avenue Bridge has been put on hold again.
Yes, I think they're having quite a fund shortfall in the state highway right now. So that project was put on hold.
Can I ask a question? Is that shortfall is what affecting the grass cutting and all in all the state highway areas?
I don't know. I didn't address that with the resident maintenance engineer. But I imagine their shortfalls in their revenue has affected a lot of things.
Yeah, I imagine, but the parts of the town at some points look really bad. And every time I look, it's a state highway piece of property.
Well, one thing good, I saw a mower, a state highway mower going up 279 today. So they're out there. I don't know how many legions of mowers they have, but they are out there.
God bless. All right, thank you. Sorry, Mayor.
That's okay. The next on my agenda was a little bit about the filling the position of the chief of police. I believe that every commissioner has reviewed the applications at this time. So we're going to start the narrowing down process. I want to stress we've had a lot going on in the town, and I know that I feel extremely comfortable with our acting chief in place as it's been, but I think it's something that we're going to start moving a little bit. Hopefully, Lou, you'll start moving a little bit further along with this.
That's correct. We have some really good applicants there. It's going to be difficult, but I'm trying to narrow it down to a small group because we have to do some background work, and that will take some time.
Very good. Thank you. That's all I had to report. Jean, do you have anything?
No, just a quick question on the chief of police then. So once it's narrowed down, will there be interviews then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All righty. Thank you.
Nobody's going to work in the position of chief of police unless the board's met, talked to, and, well, met virtually probably, talked to, and feels comfortable with them.
All right. Thank you.
Got a lot of questions. Okay. Yeah. Jean, anything else today?
No, thank you.
Earl, anything today?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Rob?
I have nothing to report, but I would like to state that I continue to be impressed with this team. I'm very happy to be part of it. I really appreciate Earl and Charles sticking around for another term at least. I look to you guys for leadership and mentorship, and very thankful that you stayed around.
Very nice. I don't know if I would have said those kind words about him.
Mostly about Charles, of course.
That's where I was going to.
Yeah, and I did mean to congratulate both of them. I can't imagine working on the board without you.
No.
Charles, you have anything, sir?
Three things. Number one, I'm tired of pulling Earl around. That's number one. And number two, the governor has allowed the town to start collecting water bills. In the town of Elkton, I know perhaps there's over 50% of homes are renters. And talking with Steve, he was talking about a dilemma in how to collect money because most people pay with money. And right now the door is still locked, so everybody can not come in there like it's a speedway and pay for the bill. So I don't know how he's going to help resolve that, or what plan he has in place.
We're looking into putting in a drawer and a camera system right now next to the finance. That way it keeps people from coming in, but allows them to see and interact with the finance people, similar to a bank situation where you have a drawer and you have a camera right there. We're looking into doing that.
Okay, and the last question is, Lois, there's about 22, 23, 24 applicants. You need to come up with some solutions for us to know what are you going to go down to, what number?
Probably go down to about, I'd like to get down to about 4.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for running a good meeting.
Well, thank you. There was one last thing that could probably be the most controversial thing that we need to talk about real quickly. We got an upcoming holiday or a venue, Halloween. And I thought that I'm looking for the report right now on my other, I saw something that the county put out today, or the health department, in regards to trick or treating. You know, I guess I go back and forth. I can say that I know there's people that feel uncomfortable about people coming to their homes this year. I would also say that we've never regulated Halloween. We've just followed suit with the county hours. I feel comfortable in following suit again with those hours. If people choose to come out, I think it's up to the option of the person at their home. I probably, myself personally this year, I probably won't be giving out candy. I guess it's bah humbug on me, but I feel uncomfortable in my household personally. I think each has to be their own. If they feel comfortable in giving out trick or treat candy this year, turn your light on and allow people come to your doors.
That's right.
So I guess I'm asking the board how they feel.
Well, I personally agree with you 100%. I was hoping that the county did come out with a recommendation. You said, did we find one or get one yet?
It was this morning I saw something, and I'm looking for it right now.
I don't think the health department recommended traditional door-to-door trick-or-treating, but alternatives. I think that was what the health department said.
Yeah, I think that's what I saw also. The health department.
What would be the alternative?
I lost it.
The alternative would be to do something internally, decorate your house, buy candy for your kids, you know, stuff like that. I mean, you know.
It's easy to say, but you know, there are some neighborhoods out there that are actually organizing amongst themselves, talking about having special routes. And it's still up to the individual homeowner and the individual parent if they want to participate.
Well, you know, you all know that I am very well educated in cross-contamination.
Yes.
This virus is very hard to control, and it only takes one weak link. And I would not want to be responsible for transmitting or receiving this virus to, you know, by any children or anybody. It's my favorite holiday of the year, and I love it for the children, but I'm going to pass this year.
I think I want to leave it up to an individual. Personally, I probably will not hand out candy either. But
yeah, it's breaking my heart. But
I just feel like, you know, I just feel like there's got to be the government at some point. Maybe I feel it's a little bit of an overreach. Excuse me, I had to let the dog in.
We have never regulated Halloween in the past. I don't think we need to regulate it now. I think that we should just allow it up to the individual. I know that the police department said that they are going to have additional patrols out for that evening. I hope that neighborhoods like Patriots Glen can do something in their clubhouse if they want. I hope that Kensington Courts can do things in their own neighborhood. You know, I know my family, we've never really, we've always taken our children to the neighbor's house, someone that you felt comfortable with. But this is a strange time right now.
You just don't know who. I certainly won't admonish or look down upon anybody who chooses to participate, but for myself, I'm out.
So I would say, would everyone agree we're not taking a stand one way or the other?
I would agree on that, because I'm certainly not going to tell anybody you can't do it.
Yep, I feel the same way.
I do too.
All right, well, that's all we had to do there. This is the time of the meeting. We're going to open up the floor for some comments, and 398-10 if you have something to say.
Oh, is
Wait a
it
minute,
me?
I'm shocked.
Yeah, Mr. Lemon, you're on.
Explain to me, I heard the resume of Ray Jackson. Who's his employer?
Ray Jackson.
Uh,
He's a developer.
yeah, he's,
That's all I need to know. I heard that and I wasn't clear.
He's
I
a-
want to
he's a
congratulate
managing
everybody on getting the armory. I think that's wonderful.
thank you.
Mr. Lemon, Mr. Jackson is the managing partner for Stonewall Capital LLC. He's a company with that company. He is that company, I guess.
Okay. I got it. I didn't understand that. I tuned in the middle of his resume.
Okay.
And I want to congratulate everybody on the armory. I think that's wonderful that you're bringing that to conclusion. That's super. And thanks for a very good meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a phone number. Anything to say? I also see there's a Mr. Wick Dudley. How are you, sir? Anything to say to the town of Elkton?
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, gotcha.
No, just watching in today. Thank you all.
All right, thank you. All right, I think that's it. Anyone else have anything to say? Mr. William Carroll?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, it is now, let's see what time it is, 1:35. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody.